Good morning, everyone. Respected Vice Chancellor Sudhir Jain sir, Rector V.K. Shukla, Registrar Professor Arun Kumar Singh, esteemed faculty, parents, families, and the graduates of 2020, 21, 22. Thank you for having me as your convocation speaker. To the members of the graduating class of 2020, 2021, and 2022, all 37,600 of you, congratulations on achieving this milestone in your life. I know it has been a wait for some of you for over 3 years, so congratulations again. Let's please give a big round of applause for the graduates. So when Professor Jain, or Dr. Jain called me and asked me would I travel 10,000 miles to come here for 25 minutes to be with you, it was a very quick decision. I said, yes sir, I will. I said yes because, first and foremost, it is a privilege to be here in Varanasi and in BHU, both of which have a phenomenal place in the history of India. Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya ji had a vision around education and how education could change the shape of our country in many decades. He established the first residential university in India in 1906 from an idea, and today, as a testament to his vision, BHU is ranked as one of the premier institutions in the world. On a more personal note, this visit is more of a homecoming for me. As many of you know, I went to Banaras Hinder University. The last 24 hours, I've had the privilege of interacting with all the deans and leaders of the faculty, of getting a tour of IIT BHU and of BHU and the upgraded facilities. It only took 24 hours to route me back into Banaras Hinder University. Such is the draw of this university in the pool. This morning, I woke up and went for a very long 5-mile walk. I went to every place in the university I remembered by myself and my brother, and I took pictures. I went to my room in 142 Dhanrajgiri Hostel. I went to take a walk to Motu. You know, in 24 hours, BHU has reminded me as to what made me who I am today. So thank you very much to Banaras University and all of you. Like you, I spent time studying here and also not studying. I've been around the world, and I've had the privilege of calling myself a graduate of Banaras Hinder University. And as of today, all 37,600 of you have the same privilege, so wear it proudly. In 1940, when India was going through partition, there was a man called Rijlal. He came to Chowk Ganga Singhaba. Many of you might know it. He had no money, he had 6 children, and he had a reference from a friend and a cousin from Jabalpur who had said, I know someone who can be a cloth seller in Allahabad. And he had only one aspiration in his life. He wanted to make sure all his 6 kids had a good education. One of those kids ended up becoming the Judge Advocate General of the Indian Air Force. He served the country for over 35 years. He was my late father. And both these gentlemen are the reason I'm here. They were my Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya. They had a vision for my education. So I want to use the opportunity to thank them for what they did for me and for allowing me to be here in front of you. At some point, someone near and dear to you pushed you, motivated you, inspired you to come to Banaras Hinder University and get the gift of education. Make sure today, as you collect your medals, as you collect your awards, go back and give them a big hug and say thank you. So that's what I want to do as part of that. But today is about you, about the people graduating from Banaras Hinder University. So the next few minutes I'm going to tell you why it is the best time to be graduating right now. And I'll share 5 short lessons that I have learned in my life as I've traversed the world in reaching what I have. A degree from BHU will open doors for all of you, including some doors you never knew existed. It depends on how you choose to walk through them. I graduated from Banaras Hinder University in 1989. So I'm going to tell you a story. In those days, there was a computer in the computer center called the ICL 1904. If you don't know it, good, you're young. To be able to code, you had to sit in your room or in your library and write it down on a piece of paper. Then you could take your bicycle, not any of these motorcycles that are standing out there. You took your bicycle and went to the department because there was a person who would type the thing into a punch card reader. Then you went a day later and collected your punch cards. Then you went to the computer center, deposited the punch card in the computer center. And then a few days later, you got a green printout and you ran there with joy to see if you actually had coded something right. And you generally had to know the answer because if you didn't know the answer, you never knew if you coded it right. That was 1989. In 1989, something else happened. The internet was invented, the World Wide Web. Before that, nobody could send email, nobody was connected to each other. That wasn't that long ago, it was 33 years ago. And today, all of you are walking around with a smartphone, which is 5,000 times faster than an ICL 1904. Right? So what has happened in 30 years? This technology has changed everything around us. In 1999, Google was formed. I worked at Google. I remember going to people and showing them how you do a search on the internet. And people were amazed, oh my God, you think I can find this information on the internet? It's available. And then Facebook was created, Netflix was created, Spotify was created. And then something else happened. In 2007, you know what happened in 2007? The iPhone was invented. And that changed everything again. Now you didn't have to go to a computer into your browser and access things. You could pull out your iPhone and do whatever you wanted. Now you have Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Ola, Swiggy, Zomato, all these things were invented in the last 15 years. And 30 years ago when I graduated, we knew nothing about this and we never could imagine a future where there would be mobility, there would be the internet, there would be the ability to access all these things. Today, each day, 2.5 quintillion bytes are created every day. In the history of mankind till 2009, that amount of data was never created. Just think about it. So we got a revolution in life in the early days when engine was discovered, telephone was discovered, the internet was discovered. I'm going to tell you a secret. The next 30 years will be about data and AI. Your mobile phone is going to become my punch card in 30 years. If you have time, I spent the last weekend playing with a tool on the internet called GPT-3. In fact, this morning, I was talking to my 7-year-old, and my wife told me he wrote a rap song. This 7-year-old, he wrote a rap song. Let's not go there about cultural identity. He is very Indian. He likes to play cricket and watch Virat Kohli. So he's fine. But since I was waiting for Vice Chancellor Sudhir Jain to leave his house so I could follow him here, I typed into GPT-3, write me a rap song. He wrote me a rap song. So you should go out and try it. I think that AI exhibition is like the invention of the iPhone. The question is 30 years from now, what is your phone going to be? Is it going to be a microchip? Is it going to be something that you insert somewhere in your body? Are the 3 million apps on the iPhone going to be your own personal AI avatar? A Sanskrit scholar avatar? An astrologer avatar? Perhaps your own doctor who just talks to you with your AI? Your own doctor who knows everything about you, every piece of data? Your own Facebook avatar who's going to tell you, I don't like this person, I like this person very much. Do you think that's possible in 30 years? I don't know what's going to happen. But I will tell you one thing. You guys are going to make it happen. You are the people who we were 30 years ago. And hopefully, 30 years from now, one of you standing up here telling the story of how AI and all these applications change the world. Not just that, I think you're very lucky because I had an interaction with some students in IIT BHU yesterday afternoon, and one of them walked up to me and said, "Sir, should I build my career in India or should I go westward?" I said the time for India is now. What we have done in this country, what Sri Nandan Nilekani has done with UPI, has changed the payment system in the world and has leapfrogged where India is vis-a-vis the rest of the world. Not only that, he's working on a new project called ONDC, which is going to change the face of commerce. It is going to show how tens of millions of Indian small businesses can conduct e-commerce and start using their transaction history to be able to borrow money. What that is going to do to the trajectory of Indian small business and the GDP per capita of the country is going to be phenomenal. So I'm telling you, you're at the right time in technology, you're at the right time for the development of India. So you have a phenomenal future. Now it all depends on what you guys do with all these degrees you've collected. But let me change gears. Let me talk about some lessons that I've learned in life. Because people come to me and ask me, how do I get to where you are? What do I do next? Unfortunately, I can't tell you what to do. Perhaps I can tell you how to do it. So the first one, I'm going to tell you a story on perseverance. And I toyed with the idea of doing this whole speech in Hindi, but I can't do it as well as I'm going to do it in English. But I spent time trying to understand what perseverance means in Hindi. It means dridhata, to persevere. So in 1985, when I came here and I did my degree, I finished in 1989. In 85, I had a choice. I could be an engineer or be a doctor. For some of us who are slightly older will remember, if you were smart, you had two choices. You couldn't become a Sanskrit scholar, or you could become a Sanskrit scholar, but you had a choice of becoming an engineer and a doctor. So my life was decided by exclusion. I didn't want to be a doctor, so I became an engineer. I didn't want to be a ceramic engineer in New Delhi, so I became an electrical engineer in Banaras. I didn't want to stay an engineer, I wanted to go to business school. I couldn't pass the CAT exam, so I went to Northeastern University in Boston. But when I went there, I had to live with 5 other fellow students, and we had shared one bathroom, and I worked 80 hours a week. Because I grounded out, because I needed to prove to myself I had borrowed my father's provident fund to be able to go study in the United States. I had no choice. There was no turning back. So I grounded out. It was the biggest recession in the United States in 1992 when I graduated. I applied for 450 jobs. I got rejected 449 times. I got one job. My other option was to go to Boston College and do a PhD. So I persevered. People keep asking me, how do you do this? So you have to persevere. You will face life. You will run into roadblocks. You will run into things that you perhaps don't want to do. But remember, the biggest lesson I can tell you is, I think somebody here, we were just talking to her, she said, maybe your degree is not there. She said to me, sir, where there is a will, there is a way. So follow her. She's right. Where there is a will, there is a way. My second lesson I'm going to tell you is about curiosity, jigyasa. I know all of you are celebrating your milestone of getting a degree here. And you know what? This is not the end of your learning, this is the beginning of your learning. I remember when my father was visiting my older daughter who was 12 then, he said to her, she tried to teach him how to do a video call in 2010. He said to her, Beta, humse nahi hoga. That's ho gaya. I'm 60 years old, I don't want to learn how to do this. And she, children can do this. She said, if you don't learn how to do it, I'm not going to talk to you. So I helped my father learn how to do a video call. Just earlier in the day, I decided I was not going to download some apps on my phone because I was tired of downloading apps. And from that day on, I promised myself that I would never say no to learning. And I've continued to try and learn from that day on. I've tried to understand crypto. I've tried to understand the world of application development. As I told you, I was playing with AI and GPT-3 this past weekend and trying to understand it well enough so I know what is it going to do to the world. Similarly, 5 years ago, I took a job where I knew nothing about cybersecurity. This morning, Professor Sanjeev Kumar asked me, his son, who's in 12th grade, asked him, Dad, ये electrical engineer cybersecurity में कैसे पहुंचे? I knew nothing about cybersecurity 5 years ago. I've spent the last 5 years learning about cybersecurity, me and 5,000 people at Palo Alto Networks. Today we are 14,000 and we run the largest cybersecurity company in the world. Today, I get invited by governments to advise how to secure their countries. I get invited by companies to ask for advice, how do they secure themselves? And 5 years ago, I knew nothing about cybersecurity. So my only lesson to you is, remember, continue to be curious. Do not stop learning. Always be learning. The third lesson I'm going to tell you about is about risk. Joking. When we're small, छोटे होते हैं, everybody's parents say, बेटा इसको मत छू, don't touch this. बेटा ऐसे मत करो. बेटा सड़क पार करो तो बाएं देखना और दाएं देखना. You know what that is? That is risk management. Our parents are reducing our risk in life because if you take risk, you're likely to hurt yourself. You get older, बेटा settle with it. अभी भी होता है ना? Anyway, settle with it. Get settled. Don't take too much risk. And then as we grow up, says, अच्छा घर खरीद, कहाँ settle हो गए? अच्छा अब बच्चे पैदा करो. So the whole process of life is about reducing our risk. Now what happens is when you reduce risk, there is a flip side. For those of you who have just gotten gold medals in economics, lower risk means lower return, right? Now do you want lower return? You don't want lower return. So my only recommendation is, when you go out there, make sure you are willing to take enough risk. Look around you. Do you think Larry Page and Sergey Brin, did they take risk before they formed Google? Did Mark Zuckerberg take risk before he founded Facebook? Did the founders of Ola, Oyo, Swiggy, Baidu, Zomato in India, did they take risk or not? Were they not just students who came out of universities like yourself? They decided to take a big, bold bet. They decided to change the world. Elon Musk, who's inventing the autonomous car, who sent rockets to space and wants to go to Mars and set up civilization there. That is a big, bold idea. And things will not happen unless you're willing to be bold and willing to risk it all. So my only recommendation is, do not treat your education as a crutch. Remember, your job is to continue to take risks. My fourth lesson for you is bring people along. You know, when we go to school, when we go to college, we're taught how to win. You're supposed to come first in your class. You're supposed to beat everybody else. You're supposed to excel. And we get this very competitive spirit in ourselves. But as you grow older, you realize to have maximum impact, you need to bring everybody along with you. I have 14,000 people at Palo Alto Networks, which I know in the context of India is very few people. That's less than the number of people graduating here. But the only way that they come along with me is because I know what each one of them can do, how they can contribute, and how they're great at what they do. And as you grow up, don't forget to bring the people next to you along with you, because you can't start later in life. So it's very important. It's not a lesson we get taught early in life. So all I can tell you is from my experience, make sure that as you traverse through life, bring people along. Logo ko apne saath laye. And last lesson which I will leave you with is the lesson of integrity. Satyaniष्ठा. I told you my father was in the Indian Air Force. When I was 8 years old, he was a judge in the Air Force. There are some people who were going to get an adverse ruling the next morning, so they decided to come to our house and threaten my father. And I saw him. I saw him go to work the next day, wear his uniform. He did not bend. He did not succumb to that pressure. He did not get intimidated. He did not blame anyone. He did not say that my job put me in this situation. He just stood there, and with the highest of integrity, he did what he was supposed to do. I learned that at the age of 8. I'll never forget it. And I'll tell you, people ask me many times in life, Nikesh, what keeps you up? In the context of life, in the context of business. I said, you know what? Nothing keeps me up. I go to work, I work really hard, I come home, I take care of my family, I live a life of integrity, and the rest is destiny. That is the Indian way. My only recommendation is to live your life with integrity. So in conclusion, graduates and guests, all I can offer is persevere relentlessly, never stop learning, get comfortable taking risks, bring people along, and live a life of integrity. The time is right for your generation to change the world. The time is right and the opportunity is yours in India. You're now graduates of Banaras University. In a sense, you've already won. Now you have an opportunity to make an impact. And if you do, I have no doubt, as I said, in 30 years, one of you is going to be standing up here and telling the rest of the generations what to do. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Our students will carry these 5 golden precepts of perseverance, curiosity, risk, bringing people together, and integrity throughout their lives, sir. Thank you for these empowering words.
Friends, we have produced here the hard copy of the address of the Chief Guest Shri Nikesh Arora. दोस्तों यहाँ पर चीफ गेस्ट कन्वोकेशन के श्री निकेश अरोड़ा जी के स्पीच की हार्ड कॉपी हमने दी हुई है आपके बेनिफिट के लिए. इसे आप पढ़ सकते हैं और लाभ उठा सकते हैं. Friends, please subscribe to my YouTube channel Shekhar Travel Plus Vlogs. If you have not done so hitherto, please press the bell button for all notifications. Watch all my videos. Like if you please, comment and share too. Thank you. Bye bye.